Welcome back to your favorite channel, the channel that goes deeper, digs harder, and uncovers stories the main show won't show you. A huge legal storm is shaking the little people, big world universe, threatening to fracture the Roloff family and shake their partnership with TLC. Insiders are talking about a jaw-dropping lawsuit and a behind-the-scenes power struggle no one saw coming. At the center of this conflict is a clash reportedly putting Amy Roloff and network executives on one side, and Matt Roloff with Caryn Chandler on the other. The stakes are enormous. A $1.5 million judgment connected to claims of sabotage, behind-the-scenes meddling, and an attempt to stop Amy's long-awaited solo moment. Sources say this isn't just family tension. It's a full-scale battle of ego, influence, and ambition that went far beyond the farm. The heart of the dispute is a special TV project meant to launch Amy's solo career, which was allegedly shut down before it aired. Now, the network is reportedly pushing back, showing clear support for Amy. What began as whispers has become an explosive story. Loyalty is tested, alliances are broken, and a family empire is in chaos. Before diving into court documents and insider testimony, please take a second to hit like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. Your support allows us to dig deeper and bring you stories no one else is covering. To understand the gravity of this situation, we need to look back at the massive success of Amy and Chris Merck's wedding special. TLC built this as Amy's second act, and it wasn't just another reality wedding. It was a ratings powerhouse. The special proved Amy could be a solo star. Fans were invested in seeing her succeed after her divorce from Matt. Millions tuned in to watch her walk down the aisle at Roloff Farms, a place closely tied to her past. Both the storytelling and financial success of the special were huge for TLC. Executives were thrilled and saw a big opportunity. Amy had what is called four-quadrant appeal, meaning she connected with viewers of all ages, from longtime fans to new audiences who related to her life changes. She was charming, easy to get along with, and perfect for a new show. The network quickly offered Amy a one-hour special of her own series, tentatively called Amy's Oregon Adventure. The plan was simple and smart. Amy and Chris would travel across Oregon, visiting lesser-known spots, quaint villages, hiking the coast, dining at local restaurants, and having fun. The show would mix Amy's love for cooking with Chris's passion for travel, creating a cozy, feel-good program. TLC committed fully. The pilot had a budget of several $100,000, and an experienced production team was brought in. The first episode was planned along the Columbia River Gorge, and ad slots were already being pre-sold. The network expected to earn $1.5 million from the pilot and future episodes. For Amy, this wasn't just a show. It was a chance to create her own path and build a legacy separate from the farm. She was ecstatic, but not everyone at Roloff Farms was happy. Sources say Caryn Chandler saw Amy's potential success as a threat. The farm and Matt's projects had long dominated the spotlight on Little People, Big World. After moving from farm manager to Matt's partner, Caryn had become a major player on the show. Matt, Caryn, the new home, and the ongoing farm succession storyline often took center stage. If Amy's solo project succeeded, it could shift attention away from them, jeopardizing their screen time, influence, and income. Insiders say Caryn was uneasy about this. Reports suggest she helped plan to stop the show before it even started. Court records indicate Matt and Caryn contacted their attorney to formally notify the network to cease and desist. This was no ordinary complaint. It alleged that Amy's series violated Matt's original contract and non-compete agreement, claiming he had the right to block any competing projects related to Little People, Big World. Matt and Caryn threatened swift legal action and damages if production continued. It was a bold and aggressive move that worked at first. The threat of a lawsuit from a flagship show's stars can throw a project into chaos. Production stability depends on law, insurance, and investor confidence, and millions can be lost in legal fees, negative publicity, and delays, even if the claims are false. At first, the network's legal team was cautious. Their job was to protect the company. After consulting with lawyers, the head of programming made a tough decision. Production on Amy's Oregon Adventure was paused indefinitely. Just days before filming, the director, producers, and crew were told to stop. Amy, who had been excited to start, was shocked and confused. She was told her contract had a legal issue that needed resolution, not knowing that Matt and Caryn were behind it. Her career came to an abrupt, confusing halt, like a sudden whiplash. But Matt and Caryn underestimated the network. TLC is a huge media company with a strong legal team, and they were furious at being misled. Their lawyers began reviewing every contract signed by any Roloff family member since 2005, including renewals and modifications. They searched for the non-compete clause Matt and Caryn claimed existed and found nothing. The clause was completely fake. The contract gave Matt no power to block Amy's independent projects, and there was no rule against a family member doing a travel-themed spinoff. According to sworn statements from network lawyers, the non-compete was a ghost clause, made up to intimidate TLC. Executives realized they had been lied to. They were being manipulated into abandoning a project in which they had heavily invested. TLC's frustration exploded. They had been tricked, and Amy, one of their most valued talents, had suffered material and emotional losses because of it. At this point, TLC decided not to back down. They saw Matt and Caryn's actions as a direct attack on their business, not just a family dispute. The legal team shifted from defense to offense. Equipped with the truth, they began preparing a case against Matt and Caryn for tortious interference, deliberately interfering with someone else's business or contracts, causing financial harm. TLC's lawyers believed they had a clear case. Matt and Caryn had used a fake legal claim to stop the network from supporting Amy, damaging her $1.5 million project. The network also recognized Amy as the main victim. She had lost income, had her show canceled, and suffered professional harm. TLC approached her and explained everything, including the cease and desist letter, the fake clause, and proof of Matt and Caryn's plan. They invited her to be a co-plaintiff, financing the lawsuit fully while giving her a recognized role in the case. Amy, now supported by a major media company, agreed. When the case was filed, it shocked the reality TV world. Matt Roloff and Caryn Chandler were named as defendants in the petition filed by TLC and Amy. The complaint sought $1.5 million in damages for tortious interference and fraud. The lawsuit detailed every part of the story: Amy's wedding special, the greenlighting of her show, and the network's investment. The fake non-compete clause was disproved with testimony from lawyers and network officials. Matt and Caryn were portrayed as manipulative and envious, using misleading legal tactics against a family member. Reports say Matt and Caryn were stunned. They had assumed the network would put Amy's project on hold and ignore them. Instead, TLC called their bluff and launched a multi-million-dollar legal counterattack. Their strategy backfired, facing a corporation with almost unlimited resources and a strong case. During discovery, TLC's lawyers began deposing key figures. Matt reportedly struggled to defend his claim, unable to identify any actual non-compete clause in the original contracts. Caryn's deposition reportedly went worse. She tried to call it a family mistake, but emails, including the cease and desist letter, showed otherwise. The network's team emphasized her role as the mastermind while trying to protect both her and Matt's reputation on the show. Throughout discovery, evidence stacked in favor of Amy and TLC. Matt and Caryn's lawyers suggested settling because the case was clearly biased, but the couple declined, believing they could win. This set the stage for a heated trial. TLC's legal team, fully prepared and determined, demonstrated exactly how business litigation works at its highest level as the trial date approached. Tension in the reality TV world was palpable. Amy Roloff, once sidelined by a fabricated legal threat, now stood at the center of a high-stakes legal battle, supported by a media giant. The courtroom became a stage where family drama collided with corporate law. Reporters and insiders closely watched every move, knowing this case could change the trajectory of Little People, Big World forever. The first week of proceedings set the tone. TLC's lawyers presented a meticulously organized case, laying out the timeline of events from the success of Amy's wedding special to the sudden halt of Amy's Oregon adventure. They showed how Matt and Caryn's actions were not just a minor family dispute, but a calculated plan to sabotage a profitable project. Every email, phone call, and letter sent by Matt and Caryn was documented as evidence. The fake non-compete clause became a central piece of the trial, with lawyers emphasizing it was a complete fabrication designed to intimidate and derail Amy's career. Depositions taken prior to the trial were also used strategically. Matt Roloff's inability to identify any actual clause in his contracts painted a picture of uncertainty and poor preparation. Caryn Chandler's testimony, which attempted to frame the situation as a harmless family disagreement, was undermined by the written evidence, including the cease and desist letter and internal emails outlining their strategy. TLC's legal team highlighted these inconsistencies, portraying Matt and Caryn as manipulative and envious of Amy's success. Throughout the trial, Amy remained largely behind the scenes, but her presence was felt. Lawyers for TLC and Amy emphasized the personal and professional harm she had suffered. A canceled show, lost income, and the emotional toll of being falsely accused of violating contracts she had no obligation to follow. The court heard testimony from producers and staff who had been ready to begin filming, describing the shock of being abruptly halted. They recounted the confusion and frustration caused by Matt and Caryn's false claims, giving the jury a first-hand look at the ripple effects of the sabotage. The narrative presented by TLC's team was clear. This was not a simple family disagreement, it was a targeted attack on Amy's business opportunities. They framed Matt and Caryn's actions as intentional interference that caused real financial and reputational damage. The legal term, tortious interference, became central to the proceedings, with lawyers breaking down exactly how their behavior met every requirement of the law. The jury was shown step by step how the false cease and desist letter, the invented non-compete clause, and the coordinated legal threats were all part of a plan to obstruct Amy's career. As the trial progressed, the focus shifted to the financial stakes. The $1.5 million projected revenue from Amy's Oregon adventure was meticulously documented. Network executives and accountants testified about the resources invested: travel costs, crew salaries, location scouting, advertising contracts, and the time and effort of the production team. Every aspect of the show's expected profit was tied to the actions of Matt and Caryn, showing the jury the real-world consequences of the sabotage. In the courtroom, emotions were high. Witnesses described Amy's frustration at being blindsided and the hope she initially had that her career would continue to grow independently. TLC executives expressed outrage at being misled and the impact it had on the company's operations. The narrative was consistent. Matt and Caryn's interference had harmed not only Amy but the network itself, creating a domino effect of financial and professional losses. Defense attorneys for Matt and Caryn attempted to paint the situation differently. They argued that the non-compete clause was a genuine misunderstanding and that any disruption to the show was unintentional. They tried to frame the issue as a family disagreement blown out of proportion, claiming TLC overreacted and exaggerated the harm. However, the mountain of evidence presented by TLC and Amy undermined these claims. Every attempt to downplay the sabotage was met with clear, documented contradictions. The emails, legal notices, and testimonies showed a deliberate pattern of interference rather than accidental confusion. As the trial neared its conclusion, the jury was given a final, comprehensive view of the events. They reviewed the key moments: the wedding special's success, the creation and planning of Amy's Oregon adventure, the sudden cease and desist letter, and the confirmation that no legal clause existed to support Matt and Caryn's claims. Each piece of evidence reinforced the narrative of deliberate obstruction. The financial losses, reputational damage, and emotional toll were clearly laid out, making the stakes undeniable. Amy's role as co-plaintiff was emphasized in closing arguments. Lawyers highlighted her resilience and professionalism, showing that she had done everything correctly and had been the victim of a calculated plan to stop her progress. TLC's attorneys stressed that Matt and Caryn had not only targeted Amy personally, but had tried to manipulate the network and exploit legal threats to their own advantage. This, they argued, went beyond family drama. It was a serious corporate wrongdoing with tangible consequences. The courtroom drama captivated not just the jury, but the public. Reality TV fans followed the story closely, recognizing familiar faces and understanding the high stakes behind the scenes. Social media discussions, news articles, and insider commentary added to the pressure on all parties involved. The trial became a rare example of how personal and professional worlds collide, especially when media, money, and family intersect. Finally, the judge instructed the jury on the legal standards for tortious interference and fraud. They were reminded to consider whether Matt and Caryn intentionally acted to disrupt Amy's business relationship with TLC and whether their actions caused measurable financial or reputational harm. The clear, documented evidence presented by TLC and Amy's legal team gave the jury a strong framework to evaluate the case objectively. After several days of deliberation, the jury returned a verdict. Matt and Caryn were found liable for interfering with Amy's business and causing financial and emotional harm. The court awarded damages that reflected the projected losses from Amy's Oregon adventure, sending a clear message about the seriousness of using false legal threats to sabotage another person's opportunities. The outcome of the trial marked a turning point for Amy. Not only did it vindicate her position, but it also reinforced her independence and credibility in the reality TV world. TLC's support proved critical, showing that a major network would stand by its talent and protect its investments. The case served as a cautionary tale about the dangers of envy, manipulation, and attempting to weaponize the legal system for personal gain. In the aftermath, Amy began rebuilding her career with renewed confidence. The network and her production team resumed discussions about future projects, with lessons learned from the attempted sabotage guiding their strategies. Matt and Caryn, meanwhile, faced the consequences of their actions, including both financial liability and reputational damage. The story of Amy's Oregon adventure is more than just a failed show. It's a story of resilience, the intersection of family and business, and the importance of integrity in the entertainment industry. It shows how calculated interference can backfire spectacularly, especially when confronted by evidence, strong legal strategy, and the support of powerful allies. As Amy moves forward, her experience serves as a warning and a lesson to others in the industry. Ambition and success can attract opposition, but truth, preparation, and support can overcome even the most personal and determined attacks. The Roloff family drama, once confined to the farm, became a high-profile legal battle that redefined boundaries between family, business, and the law. With the verdict behind her, Amy began the process of reclaiming her professional momentum. TLC immediately resumed discussions for new projects, eager to work with a creator who had demonstrated resilience under pressure. Producers and writers pitched concepts for spin-offs and specials, inspired by Amy's ability to turn personal adversity into compelling storytelling. For the first time in months, she felt the excitement of creative freedom, unencumbered by threats or false legal obstacles. Behind the scenes, Amy worked closely with the network to ensure future projects had clear legal safeguards. Every contract was reviewed meticulously, and her team established processes to prevent interference from outside parties. Amy's experience had taught her that preparation and transparency were as crucial to her career as talent and creativity. Meanwhile, Matt and Caryn faced the repercussions of their actions. Financially, the court-ordered damages imposed a significant burden, covering the projected revenue from Amy's Oregon adventure. Professionally, the case had become public record, marking their interference as both unethical and actionable. Their attempts to frame the dispute as a family misunderstanding had failed, leaving their credibility damaged. Industry insiders quietly noted the case as a cautionary tale. Personal vendettas could no longer hide behind familial ties when media contracts and professional opportunities were at stake. For Amy, the emotional impact of the trial lingered, but it also strengthened her resolve. Friends, colleagues, and fans rallied in support, providing encouragement and validation. She began sharing more of her journey publicly, not the drama itself, but the lessons learned about integrity, perseverance, and standing up for oneself. The story resonated beyond reality TV audiences, highlighting the intersection of family, business, and law in a world where public perception and personal relationships could collide so dramatically. As new projects were greenlit, Amy approached them with renewed confidence. Each decision reflected the lessons of the trial. Trust must be earned and maintained. Boundaries must be enforced, and transparency protects creative endeavors. Her production team, once shaken by the abrupt halt of Amy's Oregon adventure, now operated with clarity and focus, energized by the opportunity to support Amy in fully realizing her vision. The public, meanwhile, followed her resurgence closely. Social media and entertainment outlets highlighted her vindication and professional rebirth, framing Amy as a figure of resilience. Fans celebrated her return to the screen, intrigued not only by her